but their fallback position is the same. You're welcome. You're our friend. If you come in peace to a Muslim area that is under attack, wherever you are from, you are with us and we will take care of you. That was the message I was getting. And it was starting to break down what I knew about Islam, or thought I knew. In 2007, I went to Lebanon to see the damage wrought by Israel. I'm not going to go into politics, but this is my life, so I'll tell it how I like. I went to see the damage wrought by Israel. As a journalist, I went to write about it. And I was going to be met at the airport by two representatives of a certain political Lebanese party, whose name I'm not allowed to mention here. And I presumed that the representatives of this party would be men, big beards, big turbans, big cloaks. So imagine my surprise at Beirut airport when two funky young women in tight tops that went down to their knees and jeans and hijabs turned up and said, "Salam alaikum," with an attitude that was kind of like Beverly Hills meets the hijab. You know? And I was grilling them over the next 48 hours because I'd never spoken to a woman in a hijab before. And I said, "So what's your life like? Is anybody, I suppose, you know, forced to marry?" And they looked at me like I was crazy. Nobody's forcing us to do anything we don't want to. This is Beirut, baby. But we love our dad, and if he asks us, we'll do what he says because we love him. All of that freedom, followed by the respect for the family, is what I was seeing. And it was very interesting. They were studying to a high level. They were going to do what they wanted with their lives, but they loved their religion, and they loved their country, and they loved their faith. A new world was opening up to me, one I hadn't seen. Not only one I hadn't seen, but one that had been misrepresented to me from the day I first watched a television newscast. So we went down south, me and the two women called Zainab, and we eventually did meet, alhamdulillah, a sheikh with the turban and the beard and the cloak. And in my mind, I still carried that prejudice about Islam very strongly. I thought, it's fine for these young girls to be all, we can do what we want in Beirut. But in Bint Jbeil, in front of a sheikh, I must keep my faculties sharp and remember that Islam oppresses women. And I'm going to watch this. I'm not going to be foolish and led by my heart. I'm going to watch what the interaction is between these people. Now, at one point, one of these young women was translating, and the sheikh was talking quite quickly, and she did this. She put her hand up politely and went, "Sorry, sheikh, 1 second. Lauren, what he's trying to say is..." And I thought, here comes the whip. I thought, this is really going to be bad for her. What is this guy going to do? He's number 3 in that party that I'm not allowed to mention. This can't be good. And do you know what that sheikh did to that young woman? I'll tell you, it was outrageous. He did this. "Okay, sister, carry on." I looked and I thought, that's it? Really? No whips, no stoning to death? That was it. So what did I take from that? There was a humility about learned people in Islam, or there could be, and there can be, and there is. And that women do make choices, they can do, and they do, in Islam. It was another prejudice broken down. But I was definitely not on the road to being a Muslim. I was just learning about the Middle East, right? This wasn't my road. I was drinking alcohol, I was enjoying my life. I went to Gaza, and that changed my life. It really did. Anybody who has any interest in Palestine should really go there, because just go there. And I went with the Free Gaza movement in 2008 on a boat, and we made it. We actually made it. The first people in 41 years to sail from the outside world to the coast of Palestine. Can you imagine how that felt? And I wasn't even thinking about it. Something in me was just making these decisions. People were saying, "You could die, it doesn't matter, I can't let people live like that." You could get attacked. It doesn't matter. There's kids starving. Haven't you seen the news? Don't you understand? Every single person, there were 46 people on 2 boats. Only 3 of them Muslim. Not because the Muslims weren't interested in going, but because we wanted to make a statement that white people care, and also we were less likely to die if we weren't, guess what, Turkish and Muslim. Think about it. Think about what happened later on. So we sent white people from Europe and America, people who wanted to go and show solidarity and just help. And when we arrived, it was like D-Day 1944 in Paris. Kids swimming up to the boat, tens of thousands of people lined. They thought we'd come to save them, but not enough of us came. I stayed there for a month. And I want to say right now, thank you very much, Israel. Thank you very much to the corrupt Egyptian regime, now fallen, alhamdulillah, for blockading me and not allowing me to leave through Erez and denying me exit through Rafah for 4 weeks. I thought at one point I would never see my children again. And after 21 days of being blockaded there, as the Egyptians laughed at my British passport and flung it aside, I was crying. I was crying in the town square just because I'd spoken to my daughter on a phone. And a lady came up to me and she started speaking in Arabic, and I got a friend to translate. And she said, "I'm so sorry that you miss your children, and I understand." And she was crying for me. And I said, what's your story, sister? She lived in the West Bank. And one day she had left her village just to go to a funeral in the next village. And she had her bag of documents with her. And when she passed the Israeli guards locking her in her prison, she said, "I'll be back later. Okay, remember me, I'll be back later." And when she went home that evening, on the same day, with the same soldiers, still on the same shift, she said, "It's me, I'm going to go home." And they went, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's see your documentation." And on her documentation it said, "Born in Gaza." Not the West Bank. So they said, "Gaza." And she went, "No, no, 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 West Bank, I live here. Look, here's my children, here's my utility bills." What? Here. You know what they did? They bundled her in the back of a military vehicle. They took her to the Erez crossing and they threw her into the Gaza Strip. It's been 4 years now, and that woman hasn't seen her 2 sons or her husband, and she will probably never see them again. And she cried for me. She was crying for me. Like she'd forgotten her pain and she could understand. 21 days compared to 3 years. I thought, what is it? What is this wonderful empathy that I'm seeing? But I still wasn't interested in Islam. I was interested in the Palestinian question, you understand? And maybe, whereas I'd been an Arabophobe, now I was an Arabophile. Which is fine. That's okay. We can like other cultures. But you don't have to change religion. And then one night I remember going to the Rafah refugee camp, where I was to have iftar during Ramadan with one of the poorest families there. They'd invited me. And as I arrived in this cement block room, just a rug on the floor, 16 filthy mattresses piled up around the walls where 16 people would sleep that night. Women, men, children. The mother who greeted me in this hovel had the biggest smile on her face. I'll never forget it. What a lovely lady. Assalamu alaikum, Fadal. Fadal. Like I was entering a palace. And she had everything to offer me. And you know what? At that moment, I was so angry. I was angry with the Muslim God that asked people who were already starving to fast. What was that about? And I asked her, I said, I don't want to be rude, sister, but I'm feeling so angry to see you struggling and know that today you haven't had water from dawn and that you have so little already in Gaza. Why does your God make you fast during Ramadan? Just tell me why, because he must be pretty cruel and sick. And she looked at me, not with anger. She looked at me with love and she said, "Sister, Allah and the Prophet, Rasulu, asks us to fast so that we remember the poor." Think about that. In a refugee camp in the Gaza Strip, during Ramadan, they fast to remember the poor. I was so moved. Honestly, I can feel a key going in a lock even now as I tell you. Chink. And a thought came really clearly into my head. If this is Islam, I want in. If this is Islam, this love, this generosity, this ability to get joy out of the most miserable existence is Islam, then I will join you with all my heart. And then I went to Iran, and I was working there for Press TV, reporting on the Al-Quds Day rally, and I went to a mosque. And the final thing fell into place. Because I'm an emotional person, it was never going to be, first and foremost, an intellectual journey. My journey to Islam was going to be one of emotion. And I sat down in a mosque one evening, and I just prayed naturally. I said, "Allah, thank you. You know what? Thank you." I could cry thinking about that after what I've just told you. Because remember, I was the center of the universe. I was the one who was making things happen. And I didn't need to thank God, right? Because I was so clever and smart. And I sat there in that shrine and that mosque. And I said properly, "Thank you so much. You know what? I don't even need to ask you, not for one tiny little thing. Just thank you for this wonderful journey you've put me on. And please remember Palestine." And I felt a shot of pure emotional joy that sat me down on that floor for I don't know how long. Was it half an hour and a half? I have no idea. I couldn't move. I was glued to the spot with joy and calm and serenity. And that night, I slept on the floor of that mosque. It was a pilgrim's night, so other people were visiting and they slept there as well. And in the morning, they called Fajr, and I prayed. And in my heart, all of the anxiety, you know that train of thought you have, that list you have. You wake up in the morning, what am I going to do today? Clean the car, sort out the kids, buy the shorts, work, That list had gone. And I'll tell you what, brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, it hasn't come back. I don't have that anxiety anymore. I just do things, and I pray, and good things keep happening, and I keep seeing the world through new eyes. And Allahu Akbar, I just want to say thank you to Allah very much for setting me on this path I didn't know I was on. And may I do good and work for your community as the wonderful people of ICNA are doing, and I support their efforts. And if there's anything I can do to support you, may Allah help me to do that. Allahu Akbar, thank you.